Hello, this is a review of the Invicta 351 black leather watch with a white face. Now this watch is big, business casual, and very comfortable. So I really like this watch. Now it comes presented very well in a very nice box, a fake leather wrapped box with a textured material stitching all the way around that I think makes an excellent presentation compared to any of those plastic boxes that you might pull off the shelf, which separates it out from your typical off-the-shelf watches. So let's go ahead and take a look at the watch inside now. So it has its manuals in there, but let's focus on the actual watch. So it comes in this nice little plush case. I'm going to take it off the little pillow, and let's just take a close look at it now. So it comes with a white face, 2 buttons, your dial to adjust the time, and black leather bands with a stud in between. Now, I rather like this watch. I think it's classy, but yet business casual. And I really like the leather bands compared to plastic bands, or rubber bands, I should say, on some of the other watches. And I prefer it over the woven nylon in terms of feel. You know, the backing on here is a more comfortable feel against your wrist. But I think the rubber bands would be more washable. With any watch that doesn't come with metal links, right, you're probably expected that you'll have to replace a band eventually. But we'll talk more about the bands later. So let's start talking about the actual watch here. Now, I like the face a lot. Now, we have a nice white face here with 3 dials. So you have the days of the week, the month of the year, and the day of the month, I believe. Although it's probably the 24-hour clock, actually. I take that back. And I'm sorry, day of the month is right there. But you have the 2-hour hands, which are easy enough to read because they're outlined by black. They're not as starkly standing out against the backdrop like some of the other watches because the contrast isn't there, right? You have white hands against a white backdrop, but thank goodness they are outlined in black, and I think it makes easy enough to see from a distance. If you let the focus work on the camera here. They're easy enough to see, but it takes a little bit closer looking. Now, something kind of interesting that I rather didn't like was that the hour and minute hands, here's the hour hand, here's the minute hand, look awfully similar if you only look at the white portion of that. So the minute hand is extended in black, and it can get lost amongst the if you're just looking at the white part, the 2 hands look really similar. Now the hour hand, you'll learn, is a little bit fatter, and maybe you'll get used to it, I think, pretty easily. But usually your minute hand will visually look a bit longer, and it technically is. It just uses more black to do that. The other thing is the second hand is white. Now against a white backdrop, it makes the second hand almost invisible. Like, look, we'll lose it right now at between the 10 and 11, gone. Right? And now it comes back as it goes over the silver part. So you can see it if you orient it around just right. So see, I can see it clear as day right now. But then under different lightings, like I can't see it in this video barely, right? As it goes from the 1 to the 2 to the 3. So the second hand is maybe a little mixed blessing that it's harder to use if you really wanted to use it. I mean, it's a lot harder to use, right? But honestly, I don't really use the second hand all that much anyways, but it's nice to know if I really need it, I could orient my wrist in a way that I could see it. The buttons are a bit easy to press. You'll bump them a little more than you think because, look, for example, right, they get bumped pretty easily, and look what I'm doing. I'm changing the month. Right, so you'll find that you'll accidentally change these other dials once in a while, but honestly, I really don't make any reference to the other dials anyway, so I don't really care if I bump them, to be honest. But if you do put it on your wrist, I mean, if you think about it, you really aren't going to be bumping them that often. It's just that it's possible. But you might, depending on how you handle your watch. If I set it down like this too hard, you know, I'll end up setting it. So maybe I will be a little more careful when I take it off if it does matter to me. So the crystal is very clear. You don't even notice it. And overall, I like the large black letters. Right, it keeps it a casual look, this black and white design, but it's very, it's nice to see the numbers. It doesn't take any deciphering to go see. Now let's talk a little bit more about the leather bands. So, like I said before, I prefer them over the woven nylon of some of the Invicta ones. This one just freely moves around while this loop, but this loop is fixed. It's easy enough to get through and put on your wrist just like any other leather band, but I find, since it's a large watch, so it's probably not for young boys, but I use the second from last notch. Now they give you a lot of granularity, but this one maybe could have went a notch or two further, but then of course it would affect the visual style on the front of your wrist if everybody had to have it notched all the way around. But I have a rather, narrow wrist, or medium-sized wrist I should say. But overall, I really like the watch. I could see myself wearing it to meetings. It's a good business casual environment watch. That's with the face like this, I think it's nice enough that it makes me look good, but doesn't scream jewelry, right? If I don't want to be to have too many shiny things. I rather like it. If black leather is the way to go, there is another very similar model that has a black, the 350 I believe has a black backdrop. I'll have a separate review on that one as well. Well, thanks for listening to my review. Check my written review for any additional things I may have thought of after this review. Thank you for listening.